Far away in the deep parts of the galaxy, there was a planet that no one dared to visit. It was always dark, covered in thick clouds and strange fog. Stories spread across the stars about a dangerous creature that lived there. They called her a monster. They said she was huge, covered in black scales, with eyes that glowed red in the dark. They said she could tear through metal like it was paper, and if you looked into her eyes, you would freeze in fear. No ship ever landed on that planet. No explorer was brave enough. The galaxy decided it was better to leave the creature alone, hidden in the shadows. But humans are curious creatures. One human named Daniel had heard all the stories. He listened to every tale, every warning, but instead of fear, he felt curiosity. What if the stories are wrong? He thought. What if she is not a monster, but just misunderstood? Daniel was an explorer. He had seen many planets and many species. He believed that sometimes fear made people see things that were not true. He wanted to see with his own eyes. So one day, Daniel prepared his small ship and set his course. To the dark planet, other humans warned him not to go. "You'll die there," they said. But Daniel only smiled. "I need to know the truth," he replied. His ship entered the thick clouds, lightning flashed in the sky, and the winds howled like voices in pain. But Daniel did not turn back. After hours of flying, he finally found a place to land. The ground was black and wet, the trees twisted like they were alive. The air was cold and heavy, but Daniel stepped out of his ship, his heart steady. He had no weapons, only a small bag with food, a flashlight, and a translator. He walked forward, deeper into the forest. The trees seemed to whisper, warning him to leave. But he ignored them. Suddenly, he heard heavy footsteps. The ground trembled with each step. He turned and saw a shadow moving between the trees. It was big, bigger than anything he had ever seen. His heart raced, but he stood still. Then she appeared. She was massive, her body covered in dark, shiny scales. Her claws were long and sharp. Her tail swung slowly behind her. Her eyes glowed like red fire in the fog. She looked every bit like the monster from the stories. But she did not attack. She just watched him from a distance. Daniel raised his hands, showing he had no weapons. "I come in peace," he said, using his translator. "I only want to know the truth." The creature tilted her head. She did not move closer, but she did not leave either. Daniel took a deep breath and sat on the ground. He hoped this would show he was not a threat. For a long moment they stared at each other. Daniel felt the weight of her gaze, but he refused to show fear. Then she spoke, her voice deep and heavy, but clear. "Why do you not run like the others?" she asked. Her voice echoed through the forest. Daniel smiled. "'Cause I want to see who you really are." The creature stepped a little closer. Her steps made the earth shake. "You are brave," she said, "or foolish. Maybe both." Daniel replied with a grin. She chuckled softly, a sound like distant thunder. "No one has ever spoken to me before," she said. "They only scream and run. Or they try to shoot me." Daniel's eyes softened. "That's what fear does," he said. "It makes monsters out of things we don't understand." She looked at him quietly. For the first time, someone had spoken to her like she was more than just a beast. She felt something strange, a spark of hope. "What is your name?" Daniel asked. She paused, then answered. "Varla." Daniel smiled. "Nice to meet you, Varla." She was silent for a moment, then said, "Nice to meet you too, human." The dark forest watched them, silent and still. Two beings who should have an enemy sat in peace. Daniel knew he had made the first step, but he also knew that this was just the beginning. There was more to learn, more to discover, and perhaps a new story to write, not of monsters, but of misunderstood souls. Varla had never seen a human sit so calmly before her. Most screamed the moment they saw her shape. Some tried to shoot, others ran until their lungs gave out. But Daniel just sat there, smiling like he had met an old friend. It was strange, almost amusing, and that made Varla curious. She stepped forward, her claws sinking into the soft ground. Each step sent small tremors through the forest floor. Daniel watched her carefully, but he did not flinch. In truth, his heart was pounding in his chest, but his face showed peace. He had a rule in life: never judge by appearances. He wanted to believe this creature was more than what the galaxy feared. "Why do you smile, little human?" Varla asked, her voice deep like the rumble of distant mountains. Daniel shrugged. "Because you're not what I expected. What did you expect?" she asked, eyes glowing brighter, a roaring beast. "Ready to rip me apart?" Daniel chuckled. Varla's mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile, but close. "That would have been easier," she said, "but I'm tired of easy," Daniel replied. "I'd rather know the truth." Silence stretched between them. Only the wind whispering in the dead trees. Then Varla lowered herself, sitting on the cold earth across from Daniel. Her massive tail curled around her legs, her scales shimmered faintly under the dull light of the clouds. "You are strange," she said. "Humans are not known for bravery here." Daniel grinned. "Maybe I'm the wrong kind of human." Varla watched him for a while, her red eyes scanning every inch of his fragile body. "You are weak," she said, "bones like twigs. Skin too soft, and yet I'm here," Daniel said proudly. "That is true," Varla admitted. Daniel pulled a small device from his bag, a projector. He pressed a button, and a glowing image of the galaxy appeared, floating between them. Stars twinkled in the air, spinning slowly. "This is where I come from." Daniel pointed to a tiny blue dot, Earth. Varla stared, fascinated. No one had ever shown her the stars. No one had ever wanted to. "What about you?" Daniel asked. "Where are your people?" Her gaze darkened, her tail tightened. "I have no people," she said quietly. "They left me here." "Why?" Daniel's voice was gentle. "Because I was born wrong," Varla said. "Born too big, too sharp, too different to them. I was a mistake." Daniel's heart ached. He had met many species, but pain like that sounded the same everywhere. "You're not a mistake," Daniel said softly. "You're just rare." Varla looked at him, trying to understand his kindness. "Rare," she repeated, as if tasting the word for the first time. "Yes," Daniel smiled. "Rare things are often misunderstood." For the first time in her life, Varla felt seen not as a threat, but as a being. It was a strange feeling, like warmth in the cold. And she didn't want it to end. Suddenly, the trees around them shifted. Something moved quickly between the shadows. Daniel stood up, scanning the forest. "Did you hear that?" he asked. Varla's eyes narrowed. "Yes," she said. "We are not alone." From the dark, small flying drones emerged, their red lights blinking. Daniel recognized them, surveillance bots. "Someone followed me," he whispered. Varla stood tall, her claws glinting. "They will bring more," she warned. "Hunters, soldiers, killers." Daniel's mind raced. He didn't come to start a war, but now he had exposed her. He looked up at her massive form. "I'm sorry," he said, guilt in his voice. Varla shook her head. "It is not your fault," she said, "but now you must choose." "Choose what?" Daniel asked. "Run away, like the others," Varla said. "Or stay and face what comes with me." Her red eyes glowed. Not with threat, but with challenge. Daniel stared at the drones, then at her. He had made his choice long before he landed. "I'll stay," he said. Varla's gaze softened. "Then prepare yourself, human," she said. "'Cause the galaxy does not forgive curiosity." And as the drones flew away, carrying news of a human and the so-called monster together, a storm began to gather in the stars. But in that cold, dark forest, two beings stood together, a lonely creature and a foolishly brave human. And for the first time, Varla didn't feel alone. Some truths are buried not in the ground, but in fear. Daniel didn't know it yet. But Varla's story was deeper than the scars on her body, as the surveillance drones disappeared into the clouds, carrying their discovery to the stars. A question burned inside him. What had really made the galaxy fear her? What secret did the shadows of this planet still hide? Varla stood silently, her eyes fixed on the sky. She knew what was coming. Warships, soldiers, death. But for the first time, she wasn't entirely afraid. There was a human who stayed. A human who asked, not ran. Daniel wiped the sweat from his forehead. "Varla," he said, I need to know the truth. She turned to him, her red eyes heavy with years of silence. What truth do you seek, human? The truth about you, Daniel said. Why does the galaxy call you a monster? What really happened here? Varla sat down slowly, her massive frame settling into the earth. The galaxy fears what it does not control, she began. Was not born alone, Daniel, she said. I had a family. People my kind lived across many planets. Daniel listened closely. We were warriors once. She continued, strong, fast, unmatched in battle, but we had honor. We protected the weak. We fought with reason. But then, her voice grew darker. There was a war between empires. The great powers came to us. Begging for our strength, they promised. Peace if we helped them. But when the war was over, they feared us. Daniel's eyes widened. They feared that your people would turn against them, he said. Varla nodded slowly. Yes, so they decided to erase us. They betrayed. You, Daniel whispered. Yes, she said bitterly. They attacked us in our sleep, poisoned our worlds, hunted us like beasts. My people fought back, but we were too few. Her claws dug into the soil. In the end, I was the last. They could not kill me, so they banished me here, spread stories of a monster to keep others away. Fear became my prison. Daniel felt his heart sink. The galaxy had not just misunderstood hers, they had created the monster in their own stories. I'm so sorry, he said quietly. Varla looked away. Sorry does not bring back the dead, she said, but your presence ... It reminds me that not all beings are liars. Suddenly, Daniel's communicator beeped. A voice crackled through. Explorer Daniel, respond immediately. This is the Galactic Patrol. Daniel sighed, pressing the device. I'm here, he said. You are ordered to leave that planet, the voice barked. You've made contact with the entity. We are deploying strike teams now. Varla's muscles tensed. They come to finish what they started, she muttered. Daniel clenched his fists. No, they can't do this, he said. You're not their enemy. To them, I'm a loose end, Varla said grimly. And loose ends are always cut, but Daniel had made a choice. I won't let them hurt you, he said. You can't stop them, human, she replied. Maybe not alone, Daniel admitted, but if I can show them the truth. If I can record this, tell the galaxy your real story, maybe that changes something. Varla looked at him for a long moment. Many have tried to speak truth, she said, and many were silenced. Daniel smiled softly, then let them. Try to silence me, he said. Varla's eyes glimmered, the faintest spark of hope. You are foolish, she said probably. Daniel grinned. But maybe foolishness is what this galaxy needs, as the sky began to glow with the arrival of warships. Daniel activated his recorder. He stood beside Varla, the so-called monster, and began. To tell the truth to the stars, the truth of a warrior left behind, a legend twisted by fear, and a human who dared to ask. Not who the monster was, but who created her. Asterisk before the warships could fall from the sky, Daniel had already left the planet, not because he was afraid, but because Varla made him promise. Go, human, she had said. If you die, no one will know the truth. Daniel didn't want to leave her alone, but he understood. So his ship lifted through the choking clouds, carrying a heavy promise. But Daniel did not return to his home. He did not forget Varla. Instead, he traveled from system to system, searching for knowledge. For allies, for anything that could help him understand her better, he found old records, dusty files hidden in forbidden archives. They spoke of her people, the Varlians, not monsters, but warriors. Protectors of peace before betrayal stained their name. Daniel also gathered gifts, strange foods, tools, music, and even art from different worlds. He wanted to show Varla the galaxy she had been exiled from, the galaxy that forgot her finally. After weeks of travel, Daniel returned to the dark planet. His ship sliced through the thick clouds once more. He wasn't sure if Varla would still be there, but deep inside, he believed she waited when he landed. The forest was quiet, but as he stepped out, he heard the familiar heavy footsteps. And then she appeared, towering, dark, but with eyes that seemed less lonely. "You came back," Varla said, her voice low but warm. "Of course," Daniel smiled. "I made a promise." She stared at the strange bag on his shoulder. "What is that?" she asked. "Gifts," Daniel said proudly. Varla raised an eyebrow. "Gifts? For a monster?" "You're not a monster," Daniel replied. "And even if you were, everyone deserves gifts." I sat down and began pulling out items. First was a small music player. He pressed a button, and soft melodies filled the air. Varla's eyes widened. "What is that sound?" "Music," Daniel said. "It's something my people love." She listened closely, and the deep hum vibrating through her bones. "I've never heard such things," she whispered. Daniel laughed. "That's just the start. Next," he showed her paintings, images of distant planets, colorful nebulae, and creatures of wonder. Varla studied each picture with a strange hunger in her eyes, as if each one was a window into a world she had been banned from. "There's more," Daniel said, pulling out a small tool. "This is a hologram projector." He activated it, and a tiny, glowing model of the galaxy floated between them. Stars spun slowly, planets shimmered in blue and green. Varla reached out carefully, her claw passing through the light. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Yes," Daniel said, "and it's still yours too." For a long while they sat together, surrounded by music and light. The forest, once filled with whispers of fear, now echoed with curiosity and wonder. Varla looked at Daniel with a question in her eyes. "Why do you do this, human? Why bring me gifts? What do you want from me?" Daniel shook his head. "I don't want anything," he said. "I just want you to know that not everyone has forgotten you." Varla's heart, a heart hardened by years of loneliness, felt something stir, a feeling she could not name, gratitude perhaps, or the fragile start of trust. But the peace did not last. Overhead, lights flickered in the sky. Daniel looked up and cursed under his breath. "Ships," he said. Varla's eyes narrowed. "They've returned." She growled. "Who?" Daniel asked, already knowing the answer. "The hunters," Varla said. "They never stop." Daniel stood beside her. "I won't run this time," he said. Varla looked down at him. "Then you may die, human," she warned. Daniel smiled. "Maybe, but I'd rather die standing with a friend than hiding in fear." Varla's gaze softened. "You are strange," she said. "Maybe." Daniel chuckled. "But maybe strange is what the galaxy needs right now." Above them, the sky began to glow with engines and weapons. But this time, Varla was not alone. And for the first time, she was ready to fight not as a monster, but as someone with a friend by her side. The sky didn't just glow, it burned. Flames of light streaked across the clouds as warships descended like angry gods. They weren't here to talk, they came to kill, to erase the last living Varlain from the galaxy. Varla stood tall, her claws flexing. The sound of engines above was like a storm. But she was the storm's answer. Beside her, the fragile human named Daniel stood. No armor, no weapons, just the courage in his eyes. "Go inside the forest," she said, her voice low and commanding. "I will face them." But Daniel shook his head. "I'm not leaving you, Varla." The first ship landed hard, kicking up dirt and broken trees. Out marched soldiers in silver exosuits, faces hidden behind glowing visors. Their weapons were large, made to pierce even the toughest scales. One of them stepped forward, his voice booming through a speaker. "Step aside, human, or you will be treated as an enemy." Daniel stepped forward instead. "You're making a mistake," he shouted. "She's not the monster you think she is." The commander raised his gun. "Monsters don't get trials," he said coldly. "Orders are orders." Without warning, a sharp beam of light fired. It hit Daniel's shoulder, and he collapsed with a cry. Varla's eyes went wild, glowing brighter than ever. Something inside her snapped. A roar erupted from her throat, shaking the trees and the earth. She wasn't just a creature anymore. She was fury made flesh. With terrifying speed, she leapt forward. Her claws slashed through steel like it was cloth. She knocked soldiers aside, her tail smashing exosuits into scrap. But she never killed. Even in her rage, she only disarmed. Only disabled. Daniel, bleeding and weak, watched in awe. She was powerful, unstoppable, yet merciful. A true warrior, not a killer. The soldiers retreated, realizing their weapons couldn't stop her. From above, more ships hovered, preparing to bomb the entire area. Varla looked up, panting but fierce. She knew she couldn't fight them all, unless she unleashed the power she had always hidden, a power that scared even her. She looked down at Daniel. Barely conscious, if I use it, I might lose myself, she whispered. But Daniel's weak voice cut through her thoughts. Trust yourself, Varla. You're not the monster they say you are. His words anchored her heart. She took a deep breath, then the air around her began to shimmer. Energy pulsed from her body, ancient and raw. Her scales glowed. Not red, but gold. She jumped high, higher than the tallest trees, and reached the nearest ship. Her hands crushed weapons, tore engines apart. One by one, ships fell from the sky, not in fire but disabled. The commanders screamed orders, but it was too late. No one had seen power like this, not in centuries, and all of it was done with control. She didn't kill a single soldier. Instead, she left them alive, staring up in fear, not of a monster, but of a being they couldn't understand. When the last ship fled, the sky went quiet. Varla returned to Daniel. Falling to her knees, she gently lifted his body. You stayed, she whispered. Daniel smiled weakly. I told you, I don't run. Varla's eyes. Those feared red eyes softened. You should have run, foolish human, she said. Maybe, Daniel coughed, but then I wouldn't have seen what a real guardian looks like. And as Daniel passed out from pain, Varla held him close. Not as a monster, but as a protector. And in that moment, the hunt had ended. But the real fight, the fight for truth, had just begun. Asterisk, there is a moment when a legend is no longer a story, but a living truth. That moment was now. Varla stood under the dark sky, her body glowing gold, holding the human who refused to abandon her. She was done hiding, done running from the shadows that the galaxy threw at her. Above, more warships gathered, bigger and deadlier. The commanders had watched everything from afar. Their reports screamed one word: threat. She's awakening, one officer warned. If she reaches full power, no fleet can stop her, another said. So they gave the command. End it. Destroy the entire planet if you must. Varla looked up, her red eyes reflecting the lights of their engines. She heard their words through her sharp senses. She knew they didn't care about Daniel or her. To them, it was just another operation, but not this time. She gently laid Daniel beneath a thick tree, covering him with leaves to hide him. Then she stood, taller than ever. She closed her eyes. The energy inside her heart burned like a sun. Trapped in a cage? And finally, she opened that cage. A pulse exploded from her body. The forest shook, the clouds split apart, revealing stars above for the first time in centuries. Her scales shimmered not just gold, but with patterns of light like constellations. On her skin, she was no longer just Varla. She was the last of the Varlians awakened. The fleet above prepared their strongest weapon, a planet-cracker missile. One strike could reduce the entire world to ash, but before they could launch, Varla leapt into the sky. She didn't fly, she soared. Her body moved faster than sound. She tore through metal like it was water. Each ship she touched lost power, their engines dead. Their weapons frozen, yet no pilot died. Varla's power was precise, guided by mercy, not rage. In the command ship, the admiral watched in terror. This can't be possible, he whispered. She's just one being, but no one answered. They were too busy watching the impossible unfold. Then Varla did something no one expected. She broadcasted a message across the fleet. Her voice was calm, deep, and filled with strength. I am Varla of the Varlians. Last of my kind, you hunted us, lied about us, and turned fear into truth. But today I show you mercy, not because I am weak, but because I remember who we were. Protectors, not monsters. Her words echoed through every ship, and for the first time, soldiers and commanders alike hesitated. She could kill them all, but she didn't. She gave them a choice. Back on the ground, Daniel awoke slowly. His shoulder burned, but his eyes searched for Varla. He looked up, and what he saw was breathtaking Varla, glowing like a star. Surrounded by ships that no longer dared to attack, she wasn't a beast, she was a living legend. The admiral, trembling, gave the order. Stand down. All ships retreat. They had come to destroy a monster. Instead, they met a warrior queen, one who fought not with hate, but with honor, as the fleet withdrew. Varla landed gently beside Daniel, her body still, shining with soft light. You did it, Daniel whispered. Varla smiled, a real, gentle smile. We did it, she corrected. You reminded me who I was. Daniel laughed weakly. Still think I'm foolish? Varla chuckled. Yes, but a useful kind of foolish. The sky was clear now. For the first time in her life, Varla was not alone, not feared, and for Daniel. He had witnessed the truth. The galaxy's greatest monster was also its greatest protector, but the galaxy didn't know this yet. That was the next step, and Daniel was already thinking how to tell the stars the real story of Varla. Legends can be rewritten, and that day, the galaxy watched a new legend being born. They had sent fleets to kill a monster, but what returned was a story that no one expected, a story of mercy, strength, and a human who stood beside her. The footage from the soldiers' helmets spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Billions watched in silence as the recordings showed Varla. Not as a beast, but as a shining protector who could have destroyed them all, yet didn't. Her words echoed in every language. I remember who we were. Protectors, not monsters. The galaxy had never seen power like hers. But more shocking was her restraint. She fought without killing, defended without hatred. And beside her, always was Daniel, the human who dared to believe in her. On Earth, Daniel became a hero. Every news channel wanted his story. But Daniel only gave one message. Varla is not the monster, he said. The real monster is fear. Fear of what we don't understand. Soon, ambassadors from different planets requested to meet Varla, some out of curiosity, others to apologize. Varla accepted. But on her own terms, no armies, no weapons, only truth. She welcomed them on her planet. Once a cursed world of shadows, now a place of light and understanding. Species who once feared her now stood before her in peace. They listened to her. Stories of the Varlians, of betrayal, of survival, and slowly the galaxy began to change. A council of worlds voted to clear the Varlians' name from the records of shame instead. History would now tell the truth of a proud people who were destroyed by fear and lies. Varla was offered a seat in the council. She refused. My place is here, she said. On the world that was my prison, now my home, but she wasn't. Alone, Daniel stayed, building a small home near the forest where they first met. They built together a bridge between species. Other explorers, scholars, and even artists came to learn from her. Music, art, and stories filled the air where, once there was only silence, Varla often stood at the highest cliff, looking at the stars. Daniel would join her. Smiling as the wind blew gently, "You've changed the galaxy," he would say. And she would reply, "No, human, we changed it." One evening as the sky turned violet, Varla asked, "Do you think my people can ever return?" Daniel placed a hand on her giant claw. "They already have," he said, "through you." And somewhere among the stars, perhaps the ghosts of the Varlians watched, not in sorrow but in pride, because their last daughter had done the impossible. She reminded the galaxy that strength was not in destruction, but in the courage to show mercy, and in the heart of a human who saw beyond the monster and dared to touch the soul inside.